Imagine you are waking up one morning to the distant sound of sirens. The air is thick with tension, and your phone screen is flashing with breaking news. Missiles have struck, borders are breached, soldiers are marching. The calm routine of your everyday life, your morning tea, your work, your family conversations, shatters like glass. Suddenly, you are living in a nation at war. Welcome to our channel Stoic Discipline Dynamics, where we share the knowledge to deal with chaotic mind. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. There is a silence that comes before every storm. A silence heavy enough to choke the air, but subtle enough to be mistaken for peace. In Ukraine, that silence had lingered for years, hanging between fragile ceasefires, hollow promises, and the uneasy smiles of politicians shaking hands before cameras. But beneath that silence, the ground trembled with a truth people already knew. The common man, the farmer tilling his soil, the mother buying bread, the student dreaming of tomorrow, all of them knew the truth. That politicians had already played their cards. That greed had already set the table for destruction. That sooner or later, the storm would come. And then it came. The streets that once echoed with laughter, trade, and ordinary lives now trembled under the sound of artillery. The homes that once stood as symbols of safety became hollow shells, torn open by fire. The school books of children were scattered in the dust, and the rhythm of daily life collapsed in an instant. What had happened? Not just war, not just invasion, but the collapse of trust, the betrayal of the people by those who overplayed their hands, who gambled with borders, alliances, and lives as though they were coins on a table. And yet, amidst the rubble, something else stirred. Not revenge, not rage, but silence again, this time the silence of endurance. The silence of a people staring into the abyss and refusing to let it swallow their soul. Because when the walls fall and the politicians vanish into their fortified shelters, what is left? A man must face himself. He must choose, drown in despair, or hold calmly to the little flame that still flickers inside. This is where Stoicism begins, not in grand speeches, not in the halls of power, but in the shattered street, where a single green plant pushes through the concrete. A reminder, life continues, and so can you. History has shown us, whether in Rome, in the trenches of Europe, or now in Eastern Europe, that wars are often not just about borders or survival, but about power. The decisions are taken in palaces and parliaments, but the price is paid in villages, in homes, in ordinary lives. Politicians, with their speeches and promises, play cards that are often hidden from the public. They speak of honor, of patriotism, of destiny, but beneath those words often lies ambition, greed, and the desperate hunger for control. For the common man, this shrewdness feels like betrayal. Imagine, your fields burn, your workplace collapses, your son or daughter is recruited into a war you never chose. And yet, the leaders speak of sacrifice for the greater good. The Stoics warned against placing too much hope in external rulers. Marcus Aurelius, though himself an emperor, reminded himself daily that power corrupts, that men in authority often act from greed, from vanity, from hunger for immortality, through conquest. When a nation enters crisis, we must be clear-eyed. The cards are being overplayed by politicians who see themselves as masters of destiny. But we, the common people, must not allow ourselves to be dragged by their illusions. Here, Stoicism offers its unshakable wisdom. You cannot control the decisions of the powerful, but you can control your own soul. If politics is a storm that you cannot command, then your mind is the vessel you must steer. Marcus Aurelius himself warned against wasting energy on the ambitions of others. He wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So in the midst of manipulation and grand games, the Stoic way is to stop expecting salvation from politicians, to stop leaning on promises that are made for applause, and instead to quietly reclaim responsibility for your own choices, your own survival, your own peace. Here, Stoicism teaches the first defense: lower your expectations of politicians and leaders. If you expect honesty, you will be betrayed. If you expect justice, you may be disappointed. But if you expect only that they will act in their own interest, then you will no longer be wounded when they do. This is not cynicism, it is clarity. And clarity is the beginning of freedom. The heavy shadow of politics, the games played above. War is rarely about the common man. The farmer in his field, the shopkeeper behind his counter, the student at his desk, none of them wake up one morning and declare war. Wars are born in closed rooms. They are signed on papers with gold pens. They are justified by speeches full of passion, yet empty of truth. And in these moments, when leaders push their pawns, is the ordinary man who becomes the pawn itself. Politicians know something dangerous. They know that people can be driven by fear and hope more than by reason. They wave the flag of honor, the call of revenge, the promise of glory. They turn suffering into spectacle, sacrifice into political capital. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "You may leave this life at any moment. Let that determine what you do and say and think." Yet those who crave power forget this. They cling, they gamble, they overplay their cards. And in their greed, they ruin the lives of thousands. What then should the common man do? He must see through the performance. He must learn not to anchor his peace to speeches or promises. For every politician's pledge is a wave on the surface of the sea, loud, temporary, and gone with the wind. The Stoic response is not anger, but clarity. To recognize that there are forces beyond your control, and that to waste your energy on them is to waste your life. To expect honesty where there is only ambition is to set yourself up for despair. Therefore, guard your expectations. Keep them modest. Hope not that rulers will be just, but that you will remain unbroken. Hope not that leaders will rescue you, but that you will rescue yourself. Seneca once warned, "Is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Politicians crave endlessly for power, for fame, for control. But you, the ordinary man, must crave less. You must crave only strength for yourself and safety for your soul. This is how you step out of their game. You become untouchable. While they shuffle their pawns, you keep your mind still. While they shout, you remain silent. While they plot, you build. This is not weakness. This is shrewdness. For he who saves himself from the games of the powerful saves not only his body, he saves his soul. The trauma and the soul's burden. Not all wounds bleed. Some wounds live quietly in the silence of the night. Some wounds open when the laughter of others reminds you of a sound you can no longer make. The body can heal, a broken bone, a scar across the skin, even the loss of a limb. But what of the mind that replays the sound of explosions? What of the heart that trembles at the memory of a comrade's last cry? What of the soul that carries the unbearable guilt of surviving when others did not? This is the hidden war. A war fought after the war is over. The newspapers declare victory. The generals return to their homes. The leaders make speeches. But inside the soldier, the war never ends. The Stoics understood this pain, even if they did not name it. Epictetus said, "When you are offended at any man's fault, turn to yourself and study your own failings. Then you will forget your anger." He reminds us, suffering is not in the event, but in the judgment we attach to it. Yet, how does one detach judgment when the images are burned into the soul? The answer is not to forget, for forgetting is impossible. The answer is to carry the burden differently, to accept that the trauma is not a punishment, but a test, to accept that the wound is not proof of weakness, but proof that you lived, that you endured, that you bore what others could not. The Stoic soldier does not deny his pain. He acknowledges it, but he does not let the pain become his master. He says, "Yes, I hurt, but I am still here. Yes, I remember, but I choose how I remember." Trauma will always whisper, you are broken. But Stoicism replies, no, I am bent but not broken. I am scarred but not defeated. I carry weight but I walk still. Seneca consoled the grieving with these words, what need is there to weep over parts of life? The whole of it calls for tears. Yes, life is suffering, but if suffering is universal, then your burden is not a curse upon you alone. It is the human condition itself. So what is left? The choice of how you bear it. You can let the burden bury you, or you can let it forge you. The soldier who carries his pain with dignity becomes a philosopher. The ordinary man who accepts his trauma with courage becomes extraordinary. This is the Stoic secret. The soul can carry more than the body ever could, and the soul, unlike the body, need not break. Imagine your street reduced to rubble. Imagine the school where your children studied standing empty, windows broken, walls blackened by fire. Imagine your neighbor's face pale with grief, their family gone, their savings erased. This is not just physical destruction, it is the slow poisoning of the soul. Trauma lingers like smoke after the fire. It creeps into the mind, into the memories, into the silence of nights when you cannot sleep. The Stoics understood trauma in their own way. Epictetus was a slave who bore the scars of violence. Seneca was exiled, accused, and finally ordered to take his own life. Marcus Aurelius buried children and waged wars at the empire's edge. Yet all of them spoke of the same truth. While the world can break your body, only you can surrender your soul. The Stoic practice here is twofold. Accept reality without resistance. The bombs have fallen, the buildings are gone. Denial deepens pain. Guard the inner citadel. This phrase, coined by Pierre Hadot when reflecting on Marcus Aurelius, reminds us that the mind can remain unconquered even when everything external is destroyed. A man who learns this lesson will not be immune to grief. He will cry, he will tremble, he will mourn, but he will not let his soul rot in bitterness. He will not fall into the trap of revenge that only extends the circle of violence. Building life from the ashes. When the fires burn out, when the tanks roll away, when the speeches of politicians grow silent, what remains? A land of ruins, a sky heavy with memory, and the common man standing amidst the rubble, uncertain but alive. This is the point where Stoicism speaks louder than ever. Because what do you do when everything you knew has been taken? You build again, not out of bitterness, not out of revenge, but out of a clear vision that life, however broken, is still yours to shape. 1. The empty canvas. A destroyed city is not just a graveyard of stone. It is also an empty canvas. When the old structures fall, when old certainties vanish, something strange emerges, the possibility of a new way of living. Think of Rome after its fires. Think of Germany and Japan after World War II. Think of small nations that rebuilt themselves from ashes. It was never easy, but it was possible, because destruction paradoxically clears the way for creation. The Stoic mindset teaches, do not ask why the past burned. Ask how you will lay the first brick today. A man who has lost everything may in fact be closer to freedom than he realizes. 2. Guarding the soul against revenge. But beware of the trap. The greatest temptation after loss is revenge. You want to strike back. You want to see those who hurt you suffer. You want the world to know your pain. This desire is natural, but it is also poison, because revenge is the chain that binds you to your enemies forever. You become what you hate. You waste your years plotting destruction instead of building life. Marcus Aurelius himself, though surrounded by wars, said, "The best revenge is not to be like your enemy." Revenge will not rebuild your home. Revenge will not feed your children. Revenge will not heal your soul. But calm persistence, humble work, quiet rebuilding, these can. 3. From ruin to opportunity. History proves it. Opportunities are often born in chaos. When war ends, nations need teachers, doctors, builders, farmers, engineers, thinkers. A society in ruin requires not just soldiers, it requires dreamers, workers, healers. For the man who keeps his soul steady, who refuses to drown in hatred, who clings to his reason and humanity, he will see possibilities where others see only destruction. If you can farm, farm. If you can write, write. If you can heal, heal. If you can teach, teach. Because rebuilding is not only physical, it is also spiritual. Nations are not rebuilt merely with bricks, but with minds that refuse to surrender. For wealth beyond possessions. When everything is lost, your home, your job, your country, you realize something profound. Your true wealth was never your possessions. It was always your character. A Stoic without possessions is not poor, because he carries his freedom, his reason, and his courage within himself. The common man, stripped of everything, still holds the one thing no army can take, his will to live with dignity. This is why Epictetus, a former slave, said, "You may fetter my leg, but not even Zeus has power over my will." So even if you wake tomorrow with nothing but your breath, remember, you are not powerless. You are still capable of courage. You are still capable of wisdom. You are still capable of starting again. 5. Healing the trauma. But we cannot deny it. War leaves scars. Trauma lingers. Grief follows you like a shadow. The child who lost his parents. The mother who lost her son. The man who lost his brother. These memories do not fade easily. Stoicism does not ask you to erase them. It asks you to face them. To sit with your grief without letting it consume you. To let the tears flow, but not let them drown you. Marcus Aurelius himself buried many children. He wept, but he also wrote, "Do not act as if you were going to live 10,000 years. Death hangs over you. While you live, while it is in your power, be good." The lesson is not to avoid sadness, but to let sadness deepen your strength, to make you more compassionate, more human, more resilient. 6. The new dawn. At last, the war ends. Slowly, people return. The city breathes again. Shops reopen. Children run in the streets. The sound of hammers replaces the sound of bombs. And here, the man who practiced Stoicism through the fire will stand taller than ever. Because he did not let anger destroy him. He did not let revenge blind him. He did not let despair crush him. He saved his soul. And with his soul intact, he will rebuild his life, calmly, steadily, patiently. This is the Stoic way, to endure the storm without breaking, and to rebuild when the sun returns. Building life from scratch, the Stoic way. The hardest, yet most hopeful part of our journey, rebuilding. Imagine standing in the ruins of your home. Everything is gone. Your savings, your books, your memories scattered in dust. Where do you even begin? The Stoics would say, begin with what is in your control. Your thoughts. Each day, discipline your mind to focus on what you can still do. Gratitude for survival. Hope for tomorrow. The ability to speak kindly, to help another, to stand upright when everything else has fallen. Your actions. Do not waste energy in despair. Rebuild with your hands. Rebuild your family ties. Rebuild trust in small communities. Where one brick stands, place another. Where one seed grows, plant another. Your vision. Do not look only at the past. Let it teach you, but not imprison you. Create opportunities, even in hardship. Small trade, new skills, cooperation with neighbors, education for children. In this, we see how Stoicism is not merely survival, it is renewal. A man who lives by Stoic principles becomes unshakable. His home may be taken, but he still builds. His fortune may be erased, but he still creates. His leaders may betray him, but he still carries himself with dignity. This is the path of the common man in crisis. Is not the path of bitterness, not the path of blind hope in politicians, not the path of revenge. Is the path of calm strength. What the ordinary man must learn. The war ends. The soldier returns. But he is never the same. And yet, neither are we. Every man fights wars. some with enemies outside, others with storms within. Not all carry rifles, but all carry burdens. Not all march into battlefields, but all march into the unknown each day. So what can the ordinary man learn from a Stoic soldier? First, that life is struggle. You may not hear bullets. You may not see blood, but you face doubts, losses, betrayals, failures. To pretend life is gentle is to be broken by its harshness. To know it is war is to be prepared. Second, that discipline is freedom. The soldier survives not because he wishes, but because he obeys routines, drills, orders. Likewise, the ordinary man must obey reason, not impulse. He must train his will as the soldier trains his body. For freedom does not belong to the man who indulges every desire, but to the man who masters himself. Third, that courage is not absence of fear, but action despite it. Fear visits all, soldier or citizen. The difference lies in response. Will you bow, or will you step forward? The Stoic soldier whispers, do what is right, not what is easy. Fourth, that death is not to be feared. The soldier sees death each day until it becomes a companion. The Stoic says, why fear what you cannot avoid? Why waste life fearing its end? To meditate on death is to learn how to live. Finally, that suffering can be transformed into strength. Trauma does not vanish. Pain does not dissolve, but meaning can be forged. The soldier teaches us, your wounds are not shame. They are your proof of endurance. They are your medals, unseen but real. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, the impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way. This is the lesson. Whatever blocks you is not your enemy, but your path. The Stoic soldier is not just a man of war. He is a mirror. He shows us that life itself is a battlefield, and we are all conscripts. You may not choose the war, but you can choose how to fight it. And so, when the day grows heavy, when fear whispers, when failure strikes, remember the soldier. Not the uniform, not the gun, but the soul inside, scarred, disciplined, unyielding. He is not extraordinary because he fights. He is extraordinary because he endures. And in his endurance lies the secret every man must learn. That no matter how great the storm, the human spirit, if guided by reason, courage, and virtue, cannot be destroyed. The Ukraine crisis reminds us of the fragility of nations and the cruelty of politics. But it also reminds us of the resilience of ordinary people, shopkeepers, teachers, fathers, mothers, who carry on, who rebuild, who live with dignity even in the shadow of war. Stoicism does not give us easy answers. It does not promise that pain will vanish, but it offers something deeper, the wisdom to endure without breaking, to rebuild without hatred, to live without surrendering the soul. And perhaps when history looks back, it will not only remember the destruction, but also the quiet strength of men and women who chose calm over chaos, wisdom over revenge, and renewal over despair. Dear listeners, please subscribe to Stoic Discipline Dynamics and comment your thoughts below. Hit the like button to make us reach more people and share this video with your friends.